Let me begin by welcoming all of you here. I'm Howard Federoff. I'm the Vice Chancellor for Health Affairs and the CEO of the UCI Health System. And I wanted to just lend my welcome at the beginning of this great conference. I will be sitting in the audience with you tomorrow and hopefully learning from all of you. But first, I just wanted to share a few perspectives. The first is that the industry that we're all passionate about is evolving in such a highly dynamic way that some of what we need to do is to understand the directionality and the rate of change that will be required to deliver on what many of us believe is the future, which is to achieve the triple aim. But I would ask you to reflect over the course of the next 2 days whether that will be enough. And I'll just say my own perspective is it may not be enough given where we are and what we're trying to do. We've heard a lot from many individuals and will over the course of the next 2 days, some very erudite talks from people who are certainly well informed on an array of issues. But my principal conviction that I will leave you with today is that in order to be able to deliver on the triple aim, we are going to have to do more. And I think part of this is going to be thinking about the world slightly differently, and I'll leave you with the thought, it will not be about precision medicine. It's going to be about precision prevention. Because lying at that nexus is the only way that I think we, as an economy and as a health system writ large, is going to be able to deliver on the triple aim. And I look forward to interacting with all of you over the next 2 days. But I think that thought, for me, is the one that is driving us forward here in our health system. So now let me have the pleasure to introduce the person who really will do the introductions. It is the Dean of our Paul Merage School of Business, Dr. Eric Spangenberg, who is passionate about this topic and will lend his welcome to this 2016 Healthcare Forecast Conference. Thank you.
Well, good morning. Thank you, Howard. And it is my pleasure as well to welcome you all. I know we've got such a distinguished slate of speakers this morning. We won't spend too much time on the welcoming, but we do have a little bit that we need to take care of. And it's always exciting. And just my second year here, I'm just so impressed. And I see this as something that the community looks forward to, and the community not just locally, but much more broadly defined. And this is the 25th Annual Healthcare Forecast Conference, and that's pretty exciting for the Paul Merage School of Business. So we began in 1992, and we've kind of ridden a wave, if you will, of healthcare evolution. But a lot of people have referred to it as healthcare revolution, and as Dr. Federoff suggested, it's likely to become even more of a revolution over the next several years. We're very proud the annual program has become much anticipated, and we have sponsors, speakers, attendees who've attended the conference and been part of this since the beginning. And so in a way, for some of you, it's a little bit like a family reunion. And it's great to see the familiar faces, but our first priority has been to provide an essential body of knowledge to the healthcare community so that you, as professionals, can understand the trends, identify the trends and their potential impact on your organizations. So in addition to the Center for Healthcare Management and Policy, the Paul Merage School of Business features several healthcare-related programs, and I want to make sure I've got them all, but we're all aware, and we have a table outside if you're interested during the breaks and so forth over the next couple of days to take a look at the Healthcare Executive MBA program. Some of you are graduates of that program, and some of you are considering it. Some of you have employees you'd like to think about encouraging to take part in that program. So we have that information out there. We also have the MD MBA program in the Merage School. We also have an Office of Executive Education, and we have open enrollment programs and the Certificate in Leadership for Healthcare Transformation. The next one begins March 1st, and so if you're interested, or again, if you have people that are interested, I encourage you to look at that information and get involved there. And finally, we also develop customized healthcare education programs or healthcare management programs out of the Merage School Executive Education Office. And we've done those, and you could talk to your colleagues with Chalk or Monarch because we've done some of those programs for those two organizations. And we're excited about the opportunities there, and we're rapidly building that kind of momentum with what we're doing in the Mirage School and out of the healthcare center. So for the conference, healthcare has been such a fast-moving target over the years that our objective has been to present a short-term perspective, okay, or a short-term forecast. It'd be almost impossible for anyone to make really long-term forecasts very accurately, but we've also been trying to, we've also gone first. I'm sorry, I get distracted here by the camera. I shouldn't. I should be more used to it, right? Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All right. There we go. Okay. All right. So, judging by the growth of the conference, I think we've done a pretty good job of it over the years, and so we're really excited to see what we have here today. What we've got, I think I'm going to cue the AV person, because I think one of my big jobs is to thank our sponsors. And we wouldn't be able to put on a conference like this without our annual sponsors. And so I'd like people from these organizations to, and I'm not going to read them all off, but I'd like you to read them. Take just a second to read them. People from these organizations, will you please stand, and then we can thank these organizations as sponsors today. So the other thing I'd remind you is the only people that are allowed to have tables out in the foyer are sponsors. So as you're going around today and tomorrow, realize that those are groups that have sponsored, and you might want to just say thank you to the people who've helped to make it possible that are associated with those organizations. Next, I want to thank our speakers. When we plan the conference, we don't just ask who's available. But what we do is we research and ask for recommendations for who the very best speakers are on the topics that we want to cover that year. And that's what the board does. And then we go out for the A list every time over the last 25 years. And I think we've done a really good job of identifying those people and then convincing them that this is an opportunity they should take us up on, and then we're really excited to have the opportunity to have them here. And so we're really excited about our slate of speakers today, and we appreciate them traveling from so far away, and you'll have opportunity to thank them as they speak, and so we'll continue on, and we won't ask them to stand now. I also want to thank you, our attendees. As I said, a lot of you have been around for 25 years, but we also have a lot of new attendees or attendees over just a few years, and those are great part of what's happening here. And when you return, that shows that we're adding value to your organization and to your professional background, and we appreciate that. And definitely not least, I want to acknowledge the contributions of Paul Feldstein. Okay, our school and our organization is really world-renowned for the work it's done, and that's because of Paul's work. Paul is a world-renowned healthcare economist, and he has led our effort for a long time in the Mirage School. He's written books in healthcare economy and healthcare management. Some of you probably had his books in your class, is that right? Okay, I see some people nodding. All right, I see some affirmation there. Okay, and this isn't just in Irvine. This is around the world. These books have been standard text. They're go-tos for the area of healthcare economics. And so when Paul joined the school in '88, he initiated a healthcare management track on the umbrella of the full-time MBA program. And then he introduced the first annual conference, as I've mentioned, 25 years ago in 1992. It's been with us at each one since then. In '96, he participated in the development and launch of our highly ranked healthcare executive MBA program. In the early 2000s, we introduced our joint MD MBA program with his input. So as you can see, we owe a lot to one person in particular here as far as faculty leadership in this area in the Mirage School. In 2008, then, we officially formed the Center for Healthcare Management under policy under Paul's direction. Today, Paul has retired from full-time teaching, but guess what? He still comes back and he teaches every year for us because I hope he gets something out of it, but I know our students certainly are benefited as a result of his participation each year. As a way to thank and honor Paul for his immeasurable contributions to our school in the area of healthcare management, we have initiated a project to name a conference room in honor of Paul in our new building. And many of you have seen there, so I know you know the building. If you haven't, pop over and check it out. We no longer just have a single building, but we really have a Mirage School campus, and it's an 80,000 square foot building, and one of the rooms, the Paul Feldstein Conference Room, will be named after him, and that's a fundraising effort. So I encourage you to contact Margaret Wong, who is also the person who's been responsible for putting this conference together for 25 years. And I know you'll hear more about Margaret and us thanking her, but I want to also personally thank her. But Margaret is also pushing the effort to honor Paul with this naming of a conference room, and she's all around today, and I know she knows many of you. Seek her out if you'd like to participate. So, I would just like to say that we all need to thank Paul personally, but as a group, let's thank him now, and I invite him, with no further introduction, I'll invite him to take the podium and welcome you as well. So welcome today.
Well, thank you very much, Eric, and good morning to everyone. I also want to welcome you to come here, that you're here. And, 25 years ago when I proposed the conference, Margaret said she'd be willing to work on it. And so for the last 25 years, it's been a wonderful collaboration. Margaret's done all the work, and from my perspective, I've really enjoyed that collaboration. But I also want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank, again, the sponsors who supported us and all the speakers, some of whom have traveled quite a distance. I also want to mention a few announcements before we start. One is that you've gotten an app, and you should, if you're using the app, to try and use that to get all the presentations, because there may not be enough paper copies, so that if you can use the app, that would be desirable. The other thing is your badge. You're supposed to wear your badge all the time. That's your admittance to the conference and also to the very good meals that you get. When we start the question and answer period after each of the panels, we're videotaping everything, so when you want to ask a question, please raise your hand and somebody will come by with a cordless mic, and so we can record what you're saying. And also try and identify yourself, maybe say who you're with when you ask the question. Also, the conference has CMEs, gives CMEs for, it's approved for 11 physician CMEs, nurses, 11 CEUs, and Department of Insurance CEUs. And so you have to sign in at the desk in order to get the CME credit. And the last thing is that we have evaluation forms in the back, and so that be sure to fill them out, because we try and improve the conference each year, and we'd appreciate your suggestions also as far as topics for the conference.